Mark Geary here for Geek Pride at UK Games Expo 2022. My good friend, Stephen Box, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. Mate, great to see you again.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time.
Been a very long time.
Been a very long time. So, Vanguard Tactics, going from strength to strength. I remember you when you were a little channel.
I was a tiny channel. Well,
yeah, a tiny channel, yeah.
I suppose I still feel like myself like that now, really, but...
Oh, man, you did so well, so well.
Thank you, yeah.
So tell us about yourself. What are Vanguard Tactics? What do you do? And what's helped with the meteoric rise?
Okay, so yeah, Vanguard Tactics, we specialise in really helping encourage sportsmanship and fair play in Warhammer 40k, and also hopefully that then spreads into other tabletop games. My approach has always been about empowering people through education and just helping them feel a lot more confident when you get to the table. The game can be quite overwhelming and complex, but it's about simplifying that just so we can really enjoy the hobby. So Vanguard Tactics was, essentially driven and created to solve some of those problems, really. Yeah.
And so you were talking to the chap earlier, you've got like tiers depending on what needs people have.
Yep.
So can you explain those?
Yeah, so we have our Vanguard Tactics Academy, and the Academy very similar to, I suppose, like an online university course. It was very much like the inspiration for it would have been the course that I would have loved to study when I got back into the hobby.
Right.
I've always been someone that's wanted to, everything I've done, whether I've bought a camera, I've always wanted to invest in myself to know how to use it better, to really maximize that. So yeah, our Academy course takes you over a 16-week program where we look at every single phase of the game, from list writing to deployment to really maximizing your preparation before you go to a tournament. And that's what exactly the Academy does, is takes you through that step by step to help you feel a lot more confident at the table.
And you obviously go around and you did very well with your Blood Angels recently.
Yep, so went to the Bay Area Open in San Francisco last week, and yeah, did exceptionally well. I was really happy with my performance. I went after day 2, I was the only undefeated player with Blood Angels, so I was really happy with that. Obviously, nobody's expecting it.
Well, you think, see, this is it, because obviously, what are your views on, you've obviously done very well with a codex which is at the bottom end at this moment in time.
Yeah.
So what do you feel about codex creep? How do you think that's a thing, or is it just people aren't thinking right about the codex that they're
So I think anytime a new codex comes into like the environment, as it were, it's got a new predator in town, and it does take a little bit of time for people to adjust to maybe understand how to actually figure them out, how to beat them. But I think what I've seen in the past is so many people jump on the most efficient list, but what they're not doing is really understanding the game itself. Right. So they're missing so many fundamentals of the game, which gives players like myself, which really know their army inside out, opportunities to outplay their opponent. And yeah, certainly some books have come out which have been stronger than others. That's a fact. They've been, obviously, then Games Workshop are dedicated to constantly balancing the game, which is brilliant. But just jumping on the most recent hotness isn't actually going to help you as a player. All it's going to do is hurt your bank balance. So all I want to do is empower people to take their favorite army, which is why I never run a meta list. I'm always taking something very different. And I want to do the best job I can with it to empower people to go, I play Blood Angels. If Steve can do it, he's an idiot. I can do it too. So that's kind of the,
Well, see, I haven't played a tournament in a while. I love my Space Wolves and stuff, but I just don't feel they're being very effective. I appreciate there are some lists that are more competitive than others.
Sure.
How do you, somebody like me who's maybe been a bit, I've been playing since Rogue Trader, like I've been playing 40k since day dot. But recently I've just become slightly disillusioned with it because I feel like I don't want to have to jump ship and buy a new army, and I think, I've got money, I can buy these things and stuff, but it's just like, I don't want to be those guys.
You don't always feel like you have to.
Yeah, exactly. I want to use an army that I like using, and I want to do it in a way where I feel like I can enjoy it without spamming units and doing things like this. And
So, okay, so what you've said there is the biggest problem people have is they don't set realistic goals.
Yeah.
So what you've said there needs to underpin any other goal you then make.
Right.
So you might want to take, it could be, I want to take a Highlander army. I want to take one of every single thing, not lots of the same.
Right.
And I want to do as best as I can with my Space Wolf army, and the best I can we then need to quantify. So maybe it might be, okay, it's my first tournament. I want to score 50 points in every game. regardless of winning or losing or drawing, you just try and score maybe 50 points in each game. You complete that tournament, and hey, if you lose every game, it doesn't matter. You still hit your target. Next tournament you go to, how do I get 55 out of every game? How do I get that to 60? How do I get, what worked well, what didn't?
Incremental goals.
Exactly, yeah, because, you know, like obviously I used to be a fitness coach. If you went into the gym for the first time to do bench press, you wouldn't just go, oh, well, what does the latest guy take? He does 250 kilos. Oh, okay, I'll put that on and give it a go.
Okay.
You would start with the lightest weight possible. Okay, I did that, I'll do a little bit more.
Yeah.
And Warhammer's no different. We can't think of it as a win or loss. We need to think about it as, where are you now in your gameplay? And how do we improve you as a player? So it's really having a much more healthier mindset, I think, for it. For me, it was, how well can I do with Assault Centurions and Assault Marines? They're terrible units if you listen to anybody else.
Yeah.
But for me, they were standout units because I knew why they were in my list and I knew how to use them, and that's the most important thing.
See, because I love Wolfen and I love the Thunderwolf Cavalry, and it's like, there are two units that Thunderwolf Cavalry have got a bit of a boost recently, but Wolfen have been completely nerfed to hell and stuff, and it annoys me because there's such I like the unit.
I think they're back though. I think Wolfen have got play.
Really?
I genuinely think
really?
so. You know what, they fight on death. Now with Armor of Contempt means you don't necessarily have to take the Storm Shields.
Yeah.
I think there's play.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. The Armor of Contempt thing has sort of changed things up somewhat.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I think for me, I do another sort of kind of, like do two podcasts. I do the Geek Pride one, and I do one with my mate, which is basically just about tabletop gaming and painting and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were talking about codex creep and sort of pet peeves about 40k and things like that. And mine was this like, you know, for the average Joe who doesn't have loads of money to spend on an army, they shouldn't have to jump to the next best codex to sort of buy, because it's, you know, it's unhealthy, it's not good for your bank balance, it's not good. So you should be able to have an army that is competitive to a point without having to sort of go and spend money on the army. Now, what you've said makes a lot of sense, having realistic goals on when you go to a tournament. For me, it's always, like, I don't expect to win a tournament ever, like, because I know I'm not, my lists are semi-fluffy, semi-competitive. I put enough thought into them to make them go, yeah, that could work and that could work. But I don't expect to win. If I come top 50, brilliant. If I come top 10, which, you know, three times in my life I think I come top 10 and stuff, that's amazing, but that's just sort of like a thing that's just happened because some guy charged his knights into my Wolfen when he shouldn't have done that and stuff, you know, when they make mistakes and things. So and it's just like, for me, it's just like, I want my Space Wolves to be good again. Because they're just such a good army, and I just think, as a fluffy sort of thing.
But I tell you what, if they were brilliant, you'd hate it as well.
Oh no, yeah, man.
So the struggle is the good thing, I think.
Man. Like the last tournament I played was this. It was a while back. It was Stonehammer one, and I played Dreadnought. I did Dreadnoughts, Infiltrators, and Thunderwolf Cavalry, and I thought it was quite a good mixed list. It did well against what's it called? A Deathwing Terminator list. It did well against a basically melee sort of based Chaos army. It got absolutely obliterated by a Mortal Wounds Necron army that just went Mortal Wounds. And I was just like, oh, fuck's sake.
But that's sometimes the game, right? So you need to know, and I think having the more experience you become with it, you know, maybe this is a bad matchup for me. So maybe my goal of achieving 50 points averagely maybe it needs to be 45 in this game because it's a harder game, but in another one you're going to push for that 55. You still get the average of 50 in every single game.
So you're not doing it per turn, you're doing it per game. You're basically setting yourself goals per game.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
And hopefully that will, you know, allow you to feel a little bit more fresh going into the game, knowing right, come on, I've got my own a little agenda here in terms of goals I want to achieve, and how am I going to execute that? And then you'll be like, yeah, I did that. Okay, what is it in my list that was maybe lacking and holding me back from scoring that little bit more? Maybe it was a unit to do actions for you. Maybe it was more offset you needed. Maybe it was a harder hitting combat unit. Whatever it might be, you will find those little ways. I mean, I had a really bad experience at the BAO. One game, my opponent was running NIDS and extremely salty and negative right from the get-go. And this opponent was in the top of the top, sort of where we were in the standings, and it was quite disrespectful that the way that they acted at the table. And I think because they had the meta list, they expected to win. And then when I was just outplaying them in terms of positioning them, they got really funny with me and they didn't know their rules correctly. And actually, I'd much rather play an opponent that knows their rules really well, that we can have a really good back and forth. I don't need to ask you to check every rule. You're not wondering why I'm checking every rule because you've got the last 6 wrong. And it's one of those, we can just enjoy the game and, you know, have a laugh and create a, like one of my games, I've literally got a friend for life. It's brilliant. But it was because we had an awesome game together, not me having to ask you to check something because you're not understanding the game correctly. So
I'm, you know, for me, my rules knowledge, because I've been out, I sort of kind of have dripped in and out of the game basically, are all right. But I'm happy for people to challenge me on things like that. So I'm very much the case of, if I've done something wrong, I would like you to tell me and stuff like that. It's not a problem for me in any way, shape or form. Dude, you can't do that, or you know, you find that up.
It was something like, I said, oh, hey, I think that stratagem's been FAQ'd. Would you mind checking it for me? And they were like, oh, well, you know, and I was like, they checked it and, oh yeah, I can't use it. So again, it's not that that's a problem. It's more a case of, we need to be accepting of it. We need to give our opponent the benefit of the doubt, and we just need to chill out a little bit and just enjoy the game.
Do you feel, because like the Deathwing Terminators I was playing, I didn't, because I'd not played that list before and I didn't understand the rules, so I was questioning him all the time about it and stuff. So I said, what does that do? What does that do? And stuff. And he was explaining it, and I couldn't grasp the concept and stuff. And he was and he was getting really annoyed at me. And I was wrong, you know, he was right, but it was just like, I felt like a dick because I was questioning him about it and stuff. And I was just like, I said to him, I said, look, man, I'm really sorry. I wasn't trying to be a knobhead or anything. It's just like, I just fully didn't understand what you were trying to get across to me and stuff. So I apologize profusely to him and stuff. But, so I'm very much mindful that when I question somebody, it's not out of like you're
wrong or whatever.
You're wrong.
You want to know.
I want to understand.
And I think you said that in exactly the right way. Hey, I'm really struggling to grasp this. Before we move on, would you just mind explaining that to me? Could we have a look through your book quickly? Just so I can understand it a little bit better. And I think you say it in the right way. I'll be like, hey, no worries. Let me talk you through it, because I'd much rather spend that time with you helping you understand my army so that there's not gotcha moments, or you feel like you're getting caught out, or you feel like, oh, I'm not even sure what's going on here, so there's no point playing. That's a horrible feeling. And something I always, when I start playing a game, I always say, hey, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask me. Here's what you need to look out for. Here's what my army can do. And it's about being transparent and honest.
That's a very healthy way to do things, man. You
really
get a lot of people, and like I've met some amazing people like yourself. Like, you know, I've met some really, like, friends for life. I've met some really nice people while playing the game. I've met some absolute neckbeards who, like, I just would never want to talk to ever again. Like, there are some people there, and they're literally throwing strops if you do anything. If you get them at something, then they're just like, they're effectively packing stuff, throwing models into things, and just generally being assholes and stuff. And it's just,
well, hopefully this is obviously like what my campaign in sort of is, just striving to help people understand that there is another way to play. Somebody came up to me earlier and they said, Steve, before I watched your videos, I was a very salty player, and actually watching your videos and taking your inspiration on how you play it, I'm enjoying the game so much more. They've relaxed, they've set more appropriate goals for themselves, and actually they're helping now other people see this other way to play the game, and it's much more enjoyable. So yeah, mate, it'd be great to see you back at tournaments.
Yeah, well, I will, man. I think I want to try and get myself out more, and it's more just for the painting purpose. Because one thing about playing a tournament is I have to paint things.
It's accountability.
My sort of my pile of shame is sort of going. So it's something I want to do and stuff. It's just like, it wasn't even the last tournament. It was just more that, I think with the way, like, I love Games Workshop. I was going to do an article about it. I love them. I've had them since pretty much I was a child and stuff. It's just like, I think some of their practices in the way they release codexes and stuff, I'm not sure if I agree. I understand why they do it.
Do you know what has been really tough is, it's unfortunately been COVID. It's had a massive impact behind the scenes in, shipping issues and, closures and the rest of it. So hopefully now we're sort of through a lot of that. Obviously I'm a little bit more privy to things behind the scenes being a playtester, but when people explain, I'm like, of course, that makes perfect sense, right? So hopefully we're through that now, and I'm very excited about the future of the game. the healthy state that it's going to be going into, and the changes that Games Workshop have made in the last 12 months, the commitment to balance updates, and the recent releases of Knights have been fantastic, and hopefully going forward we remain plain sailing.
What are you feeling about squats? Or the?
I can't wait.
Yeah,
they
man.
look awesome,
Yeah.
right? They look absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
so,
the thing is, I was like,
and I've got little Jake on my channel, and he's like, I've got an army. They've made an army for me. And so Jake's like, I want to do squats. I was like, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so the channel.
Yeah.
When do you stream? What's the score?
So we stream every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, or British Summer Time, or Greenwich Mean Time, obviously time zone specific. And yeah, we basically stream our live 40k games. We have an entertainment and educational kind of game. You can interact with us, you can ask us questions. And yeah, we've also got the podcast, the Competitive 40k podcast.
Which is doing
as
very well.
Yeah, it's doing really well, yeah. So that's where we cover a little bit rules in a bit more detail. Yeah, there we have it. Yeah. Well, mate, I want to see you at tournaments again.
Yeah,
and if you
definitely.
need some help with your space rules, you give me a shout. Okay?
I think I may do. Yeah. Cheers, dude. Appreciate it.